Oh, my first exposure to French cinema was actually the very first film that I ever saw. I was about 5 years old at the drive-in in Nairobi in Kenya, where I grew up. It was The Red Balloon, and it made such a huge impact on me. Perhaps in part because of the fact it was the first film I'd ever seen, but it was, it was cinema and television was non-existent. Cinema was very rare in Kenya. And to watch the story of this little boy, Pascal, who eventually is sort of elevated into the atmosphere with this crowd of balloons, was extremely potent to my 5-year-old mind at the time. And in a way, encapsulates for me the magic of cinema, which is exactly that. You're just carried away by balloons into the sky. And it's about emotion. It's not about rationality. Cinema is a medium that stirs the imagination and the emotion. And so for my first exposure to be a French film was, quite a remarkable coincidence. Look, it's true to say that the French hold cinema in very high regard. You only have to look at the fact that I think there's more cinemas per head of population in Paris than anywhere else in the world. The French industry is so dynamic, the most successful in Europe. So there's an enormous support for cinema in France. The French certainly have cinema very close to their hearts, and I've always been conscious of that. Being in France and seeing your own films being released there, and the reverence with which they're handled and with which they handle you is a revelation. So it's an enormous part of French culture. I've been lucky enough to see a number of the films ahead of time. Between Two Worlds, I think, is a remarkable film. Almost a sort of Ken Loachian sensibility about it. With Juliette Binoche is in the lead and looking just quite remarkable, and one of her great performances, I think, and surrounded by an almost entirely non-professional cast. And I found it very moving, very powerful, and a marvelously refreshing film to see. And then in terms of energy, The Braves, or Entre les Vagues, just opens with this sort of explosive scene between these two young actresses vying for a role in a stage production, and it takes such unexpected twists and turns that are quite breathtaking, and so again a very fresh and energetic and vibrant piece of filmmaking. Farewell Mr. Hoffman, I think, is a terrific film which manages to escape the confines of its theatrical origins, and Daniel Auteuil is quite remarkable in the lead. All the performances are extremely good, which tells you that something is happening, which is good. A very powerful director. So those are a few of the films that have really caught my attention.